Well, ho, 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 and Merry fucking Christmas to you. It's the Purple Rhymes with Orange Christmas Marathon. And we got the Shills round. I think we should go right to Purple Rhymes with Orange to tell us all about the marathon, its inception, and its importance.
Oh, I hate being put on the spot like this. But yeah, I started doing this 5 years ago, kind of on a lark, and just, you know, every year it's been growing, with more people getting involved with running streams. And just the idea is that we run 48 hours constantly to cover every hour of Christmas Day everywhere in the world, so that anyone who winds up being alone on the holiday at least has a place they can go to, that they know they can hang out with friends.
Perfect.
It's a
Good
wonderful
shout for
idea.
sure. Yeah. It's great too. I mean, you know, a lot of people really dig it. You know, it's become a real tradition for quite a few of us on the net. So yeah. If you happen to see on the screen that somebody's trying to get in, you see it get dark or whatever, I could be doing something else in the background. So just let me know, everybody, because I have a feeling we'll have quite a few by the time we really get going here. So we got to do the 12 Days of Christmas coming up, but we have a tradition on our Christmas shows where everybody has to share a little Christmas story from days gone past. So let's see. How about we start with Fallacy Dave today? Share a little Christmas tale that doesn't involve...
Oh, God.
Doesn't involve-
Okay. Did I pick a bad moment?
I'm just really trying to mute something. Don't worry. So yeah, Christmas story. Yes. So I didn't get to say this yesterday on the stream. I would traditionally always watch. I think it's Nicholas Briggs's Snowman and Father Christmas animation with my sister. Don't anymore. But we also had another tradition where we would make our own Advent calendars, and so we wouldn't go out and get like a Mars or a Maltesers, whatever chocolate bar one that's, you know, expensive or whatever. We would end up just putting our own chocolates in like a stocking kind of a Advent calendar, if that makes sense. If you could hang it up, and it would be just this large stocking,
Pouches?
basically, but it's in the shape of a Advent calendar. So you just have these little pouches and you put your own chocolates in.
That's cool. I like that. That sounds excellent.
Sounds fun.
Excellent. Yeah. Who should we try next? Stephanie, how about yourself? Why don't you share a tale from Christmas when you were young?
Well, going back to not too young, probably my favorite Christmas moment was Christmas Eve in 1973, maybe, I think it was. Performing Stravinsky's Mass in C at the Church of the Covenant, which had the most incredible acoustics in the city of Boston. It was just a magical thing. And the thing is, I went to Brandeis University. Most of the people in our concert choir were Jewish, but it didn't matter. The magic of the moment was just so serene. It's a beautiful, beautiful memory for me.
I like that. That's awesome. I'm frantically trying to keep up in the chat, and everybody around here knows that I cannot multitask. So sorry, I'm going to clusterfuck up a bunch of times here. Yeah, thanks, buddy. How about we go to Skits then? Skits Crasher, a tale from Christmas past.
Well, I'd say a decent Christmas of mine was, well, decent is relative, but I think I was 19 years old, and it was really my first Christmas away from home, but it was also my first Christmas in Iraq. We didn't have a Christmas tree. We had some palm trees that were around. We couldn't use, Christmas lights. So we used our own little tactical red chem lights, and we decorated a tree, and we sang together. And, we were in combat, but hell, we weren't going to stop that. We were going to let that stop us from celebrating Christmas.
So you made
Very
yourself
cool.
a hot target.
Yes, worth it.
Oh, well, perfect timing. We have yet somebody else joining us. We've got Kitty the Atheist, and I hope you're going to unmute and tell us a nice story from a Christmas past. Google Meets has you muted. We can't hear you yet.
Good call. Sorry.
Yeah,
Needed
no worries.
to switch over. I had to mute the stream because it was a little overloading. So I actually stopped believing in Santa at a very young age. I was about 6 years old, but I had 2 younger siblings, and I really wanted to keep the magic alive for them. So I basically kind of lied, manipulated, and gaslighted them, looking back on it, sure, but where I would do little things, or tell them that, oh, I woke up early and I just saw Santa leaving, because they knew that I got up before they did. So
Nice.
I did what I could to basically keep that whole spirit of Christmas and happiness and Santa and everything for my sisters who were 1 year younger than me, and then when my baby sister, who is 6 years younger than me, came along, I wanted to keep them believing as long as possible. So yeah, that was something that I remember to this day, and it makes me I'm glad that I get to do that with my son as well, and continue on that spirit of Christmas and Santa and the more secular side of things. And he loves Santa and just the whole thing. So I'm super happy to be able to do that.
Oh, that's cool. Good one. Excellent. And Claire's finally able to join us. Little technical glitch there. So Claire, it's your turn of a tale of Christmas past.
A tale of Christmas past. I guess one of my favorite memories of a Christmas past was the day my daughter, at a younger age, about 11 or 12, saw all the stuff under the tree and walked up to me and said, "Could you just stop doing that?" And it was quite a moment, because I didn't realize that she really just thought it was too much, that Christmas was just starting to mean something different, and she just wanted to hang out with her cousins and have a good meal. And it's my favorite memory because it meant she was really going in the right direction for me anyway. So let's see.
Yeah, that the crossover time in life, right?
Yeah, it wasn't about she just saw a pile of presents and said, "You don't have to do that anymore, Mom. Forget it." And it's cool.
Right on.
It sure helped the college fund, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, right.
Yes. Well, yeah. Let's see.
Big time. Let's see. Let's go with Purple next. Purple, a tale from Christmas past.
Well, with the second batch of kids I raised, our first Christmas together, her middle daughter had really attached herself to me. And when we were putting up the Christmas tree and her mother was taking out their traditional angel, she didn't want the angel up there. And she argued with her mother for 3 days to make my Triceratops nightlight the tree topper.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. That's really cute. Who do we got left here? How about DKG Custom? All animated and looking cool.
What do you want? What do you want? A story? I tell you what.
A tale of Christmas past.
Yeah, I remember this time, right, when my wife, she was working for this big corporation, and they had a big Christmas party at this, this brand new fucking fancy building that had been built, and there was this big party there, and I went to go and meet her. And while that was going on, this big party, the building was taken over by terrorists, and but they weren't actually terrorists. They were actually their bank robbers. And, and I just
That's not a Christmas story. Go back to the one with the weird pet.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
I was like, this is Die Hard.
It's Die Hard,
describing
right?
Die Hard.
I didn't get to the bit when I had the machine gun, motherfucker. I didn't get to that bit. Oh,
Totally Die Hard. Now I know it's Die Hard. Okay. Were your feet bleeding? Were your feet
Yeah, I was
bleeding?
just gonna say, one never wants to pick glass out of their feet on Christmas. That sucks.
I tell you what, I will tell you this story though, and I've told this story before. But we had this Christmas party, and we're in this little club in London, and we were joined by Anthony Daniels, none other than C-3PO. And he came and sat at a table and chatted about Star Wars and God knows what. And the best part of it, at the end of the night, we both went to the toilet together, and I had a piss next to Goldenrod. Yeah.
Merry Christmas to all.
Your
Yeah,
brush
it's-
with greatness was at the urinal.
It's better than having
Usually
to deal
is.
with the consequences of getting things wet or feeding them outside of set times and the chaos that ensues. Now, Die Hard, I can see the argument going either way of whether it's a Christmas movie or not. However, Gremlins is most definitely a Christmas movie because
Yep.
he
Agreed.
gets the Mogwai for Christmas.
Right.
So, like, I will fight a bitch on this one.
And we should also point out you should never gift pets for Christmas presents.
Yes, never give anybody a live animal. You're not necessarily giving them a gift, you're giving them a chore list.
That's a good
Now-
point.
I will say my son did actually get live animals for Christmas last year. However, it was discussed ahead of time with us
Yeah.
and we consented to it. So, his guinea pigs were actually a Christmas gift last year and he absolutely adores them. He doesn't do the work to take care of them. We do. But, I knew what
Yeah.
I was getting into ahead of time. So if you're
Well-
going to do it, get consent of the parents first and make sure that they are capable and willing to put in the effort to learn how to properly take care of said pet.
Well, yeah, even a person of adult age, it's only if they have already been talking about getting a pet. You don't want to put that responsibility on them if they haven't already thought it through.
Well, I mean, if you are going to give them a pet, give them a turkey. So at least if it doesn't live till New Year's, you got something for dinner.
Fair.
Quick question: at what age is it acceptable to have just to give someone a pet horse?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I mean, I guess it
Well,
depends on
they-
whether you're trying to do it to get out of a sexual harassment lawsuit or not.
Are you talking about the age of the horse?
Answer.
Sorry, I couldn't take someone left me wide open for like a shot across the bow at Elon Musk, and I was gonna
Uh-huh.
take it.
I know.
Hey, Tornado's here. How you doing, buddy? Merry Christmas. Let's see. So, Charlie, I think it's your turn then.
Okay, we're looking at about 1989. I'm a 9-year-old, and we were waiting to see. We were pretty poor, and we were waiting to see if my mom was going to get a bonus at work or not, and that would kind of dictate our lavishness level of our meal. And she ended up getting one, and we went crazy. And my two sisters and her, and we made like 4 pounds of shrimp, and we all got really sick and didn't open presents didn't open presents till the next day. Fun.
That's
But you
cool.
remember stuff like that fondly.
Uh-huh. I think
Yep.
that's sweet.
Oh, fuck.
What about you, Dick?
Actually, I still get out of it because Lavender Lady Diana's here, and we can get yet another contestant on. Tell us a story from Christmas past.
Oh my word. All the stories I have are basically child abuse. But there was one day the old man lost it. I was sweeping up something in the basement, and he told me to use the broom. It was a standing, broom you use while you're standing, to sweep into the dustpan. That's what they called it. And I wasn't sure about the leverage of this thing, because there'd be this long handle while I'm trying to, and I hesitated, and he absolutely lost it. Ran up the stairs, screaming something about how I was going to pull the Christmas tree down, and that just stayed with me for years and years and years. Well, I mean, this happened when I was maybe 10 years old, so that's 55 years ago, and it still stays with me. I'm sorry I don't have a really cute story, because I really didn't have all that many cute Christmases.
Yeah. That's
yeah,
how
I
it
know
is
what you
for
mean.
quite a
It's hard
few.
for me to reach back to childhood.
Mm-hmm. And then there's this kitten over here, 6.5-year-old kitten. You're a good kitty. Yeah, she's the kitty I found behind the apartment, and this little thing,
Dick, why don't you tell us a story about your days of gun running in Nicaragua?
Yeah, that works. I like that idea.
But
Okay.
Christmassy.
Yeah, but Christmassy. Okay, so this is all going to be complete BS because I've never left North America. But yeah, no, I've been all over North America. I've just never left. It's one of those things. But I once again get myself put on the sidelines because Allie's here, and Allie's actually joining from the hospital. She had a horrific drug overdose. It was really, really bad. So we should.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You're muted in Meats there, Allie. If you're trying to give me shit right now and tell me off, you'll have to unmute Meats first. There you go.
Drug overdose. Nice. I win.
Hey, Allie.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good to see you here.
Healing
you
up.
want a crazy Christmas story?
Mm-hmm.
I was 4 years old, and I had just had a surgery, and I was in a body cast.
Oh,
and
no.
my parents bought me. I was telling in the chat. I was 4, and I got a full-size quarter horse. That was my gift. So they lifted me up, took me to the window, took the screen off the window, and let me look at the horse through the window. That was my present. Kind of useless for a kid in a body cast.
Well, that's probably true, but
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah, it was one of those gifts that's supposed to be for the kid, but the parent benefits.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my only crazy Christmas story. That and when I found out Santa wasn't real. That one was crazy. I was like 6 maybe, and my mother bought one of those big wheels for my little brother, and when it rolls it clicks, and she's rolling it down the hallway, and I opened the door and I look out. I'm like, what are you doing? Nothing. So I knew Santa wasn't real then. She couldn't bother to carry it down the hallway. She had to roll it.
There's interesting.
Do you remember the big wheels?
Yeah, those chunks of hollow plastic were heavy.
And it rolls and it goes click, 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 click as it rolls.
I always thought it was interesting that Father Christmas always gave the parents receipts. So if the toy wasn't working, they could take it back to a shop and get it changed.
Yeah, that's something.
And considering that the elves made it, that really is Santa just ripping off Sears and those people that have to accept the returns and hand out cash, right? I mean, those are fake receipts then. He's
Total
a criminal.
Scam. A scam. Total scam. Yep.
No. They're service organizations. That's it. Santa's got contracts with all those people.
Yeah, exactly. And
Seriously.
for the kids that catch their parents with the gifts, Santa doesn't always have, it's a lot to do in one night. So delivering presents to the parents early so that they can wrap them and put them under the tree. That way it's a little bit easier and less on him, as opposed to, a billion kids having to visit them all in a single night.
Well, he should just
It
do it
kind of
all through
sounds like
Amazon. He
Christmas
should do,
organized crime to me. I don't know.
he should just do it all through Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
It's easy.
No,
And
Hey,
no,
parents-
DK, it's
people-
the union elves.
No, everybody is ignoring the true dark side of Santa. Those aren't
Right,
union
parents lived in
elves.
purgatory. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's great. It works
No,
out all.
he has enslaved the entire elf race. They're not
Yeah.
allowed to live
Yeah.
anywhere else. They have to live in the corporate housing he provides. They don't get paid.
Is he Chinese?
Oh,
Well,
South African.
I hope he gives them bedrooms like Elon Musk does.
You mean like not even cots, just sleeping bags on the floor?
Well, they're
Oh,
little.
They don't take up much room.
No.
That's the crazy thing about Musk and the setting up the bedrooms in the offices. Absolutely crazy.
Well, he'll set up bedrooms in the offices, but he won't let them keep working from home. What's the
Yeah.
difference?
I don't get it.
It's
Cameras in the office? I don't know. Maybe he wants to watch.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, I wouldn't put anything past him.
maybe his new startup is voyeursorus.com.
He's gonna buy OnlyFans for Twatter now.
Oh no! Please
Well,
don't.
he did tell his all his staff that anyone working for him has got to go hardcore. So maybe that's got something to do with it.
There you
I
go.
mean, he did start X.com, and when it got bought out by PayPal, they were going to use that name. When it was actually, I think it was Confinity bought it. And PayPal already existed. Elon Musk did not start PayPal. He started X.com and sold it to Confinity. And X.com had more of like a name recognition, so they were going to use that, but then they changed it quickly because a lot of people were like, hey, that sounds like a porn site. So they went with PayPal instead. Same thing with Tesla, actually. He used the money that he got from,
Yeah.
essentially selling off other companies in order to buy the largest amount of stock in Tesla. And he forced one of the actual co-founders out and threw a hissy fit, and there was like a whole legal battle. Elon Musk has not actually started anything other than Zipit, which was his first company that allowed him the money to then, later go on to do X.com. And with Zipit, apparently it was obvious he was self-taught in his code, and it was such bad spaghetti code that almost all of it had to be rewritten. But he sold it for $3 million. So, but they took pot shots at his code. So he made that company with his brother, and then X.com, and then that's it. Everything else has been throwing his money around.
There was that time in the 80s where people believed anything that was named something.com was bound to make them $1 million.
Yep.
The .com bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just had to be on the right side of it.
That's a bit like adding blockchain to a company's title now.
Yeah, very much.
Oh.
Tornado.
Hey, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Tornado, sweetie, how is you?
Yeah, I
Hey,
haven't heard
not
from
too
you in a
bad.
while.
Things have been kind of meh.
Man. Enjoying the balmy weather down there.
It's actually surprisingly not balmy. No, actually, I got to see ice for the first time in years.
You should go to Ukraine. It's very balmy over there.
Yeah, huh?
That's not very funny.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. That was good.
I mean, honestly, gallows humor has gotten us through quite a bit in human history.
Yes, it is.
Because sometimes, when really you want to cry, you find a way to laugh, because it's the more happy thing to do, the more sane thing. Laughing releases endorphins, whereas crying just leads to doom spiraling and depression. So it's a coping mechanism that humans developed.
the female slimy bastard would always yell at me that I'm, joking around and making funnies and everything else. And I basically told him, look, if I didn't laugh, I would cry. Just leave me to it, okay?
Exactly. I mean, that's why.
And also, I'm an asshole.
Yeah, okay.
Like, here's the thing. Like, Gilbert Gottfried, like, he said some pretty offensive things. But like his comments, at least the jokes that he made, like after I think it was like the tsunami or maybe it was 9/11 or both.
Fukushima Daiichi.
Yeah, but like honestly, were they in bad taste? Yeah. Were they gross? Did I find them funny? No. But again, it's humor, and
yeah.
I don't know, like dark humor, gallows humor usually is the kind that appeals to me more. And I don't know, people just can't take a joke. Like there's a difference when you're using your jokes to like punch down at a marginalized group like what Chappelle was doing and just making a joke at a tragic situation. Like I see them as separate things, like making light of a tragedy that falls under gallows humor, and I think it's perfectly acceptable. Punching down on a marginalized community, not so much. So like to me there's a distinction there,
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we're putting somebody to sleep here.
No, this has been a long day.
What? It's only 1933 hours. The night's still young, dear.
Well, I've also been up since 0500, so.
Well, welcome to the club. I went to dialysis today, so I had to be up really early.
Yeah, I started the first stream of this at 5 o'clock this morning after only getting 2 hours sleep last night.
Well, you don't sleep at all. I don't know how the hell you manage to stay alive.
I don't either. I've been trying to figure that out. I've spent most of my life trying to figure out how I'm still alive, and given that I am still alive, why am I not yet an alcoholic?
Still, well, you just may have saved yourself by moving out of Michigan.
Oh, well, that was required. Yeah, if I had been stuck in Michigan much longer, I definitely would have just been getting drunk, at least 5 times a week.
Yeah.
Now, of course, what was the topic of discussion? Whatever.
What, here?
Yeah.
I can throw it out there.
Was there one?
Okay. There is now. Dave's got it.
So
okay.
I've always been part of a family who's always had a Christmas dinner starter, and they have prawn cocktail. I can't stand it, so I end up just having my annual salad, as I don't barely eat fruit and veg the rest of the year, which is quite bad because I'm actually a sports coach. But never mind. So anyway, I was wondering, is there any specific dietary, like cross-continental traditions that you guys have beyond, drinking?
I don't drink.
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking here.
So, is there anything you specifically have in your country which is like specific to you that you would have for your Christmas dinner, like a thinking off the top of my head, like a rhubarb,
Christmas ham,
something like that.
Well, yeah, ham, turkey, like we tend to have ham and turkey for Christmas. It's like a second Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
that's how we do it. Yeah,
it winds up
Turkey
being a
and
lot like
fixins.
Thanksgiving dinner with the family things.
For a while, I was making a duck for Christmas. Most often duck à l'orange.
Nice.
That sounds awesome.
I love duck.
Good.
Yeah, duck sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I've recently been thinking of telling Tradition to go sit on it and spin and offer and asked Grandma if we could have a Christmas cookout.
Ooh, that sounds
Great
good.
idea.
Well,
I'm
if you have an
talking-
employment that you can do that, yeah.
More
I'm
people would like
talking
to cook.
hot dogs on the grill, with cheese and hot dog buns, and then when it's all said and done, you sit there, you grab graham crackers, chocolate, and then you toast your marshmallows over the coals of the grill. Then you put the graham crackers and chocolate on the marshmallow, and then you go nummy nummy num num.
S'mores, yes.
Is that
campfire
s'mores? Is that what that is? I've
S'mores.
never had them before. Yeah.
Cool.
You're
What kind
kidding.
of heathen
That's
has never had
fantastic.
s'mores?
What
Yeah,
are you
no.
saying, you heathen?
They're not very Canadian.
That's
We live in
terrible
cold
talk.
countries.
Yes.
Yeah,
I-
it's just
Fire.
I'd rather have that barbecue than a fatty goose. We had a relative try to make one of those big old goose, and they're quite greasy. It wasn't
Oh
very
yes,
good.
yes they are.
Yeah.
Um,
Any waterfowl is going to be greasy because they've got the extra layer of fat to keep them warm.
I
It
dearly,
also-
dearly,
Sorry.
I
No,
dearly,
I mean, it
dearly,
wasn't-
dearly, dearly
Mhm.
love goose, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've
I mean, we're
also
talking-
got a pizza in the freezer.
Oh well.
Well, then you're set.
Christmassy what? A turkey pizza?
Personally, I did dispose of all the traditions quite a number of years ago that I don't even, celebrate Christmas, which is why I can do this. I do my observance for Yule on the winter solstice, which was the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
And the tradition that's kind of developed around that is that instead of making any kind of traditional dinner, we just make up a bunch of appetizer platters and we sit up all night playing games and just snacking on appetizers.
Damn, that
Oh,
sounds
nice.
good.
Well, we used
Like
to do
the sound
that.
of that.
We used to do that on Christmas Day because when the kids were little, the last thing they want to do is like sit down in front of a big table of food. They're just too busy ripping things open and playing with stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
So you just do a little party food and
well, doing that actually happened kind of accidentally with my ex because when I was trying to introduce her kids to it, I was doing all the appetizers and I just went overboard and I made so much that no one was in the mood for eating any dinner at that point.
Okay.
I'm curious
So
what
but
everybody-
one of the things that, because of that as a requirement for me, is I need to have shrimp cocktail
Okay. Okay. I can understand the
and the little smokies simmered in barbecue sauce.
Yes, the little smokies
Oh.
are fucking goat. Like they're I deviled eggs and little smokies. Like my dad makes them every
Oh,
year
yes.
for
Yeah, deviled eggs are also required.
Yeah,
bacon.
Food
Gotta
talk.
have bacon.
if I were to ever have shrimp and dip, the dip would probably be cheese.
shrimp and cheese.
I
Yeah, you
think
dip the
you kind of
shrimp in
lose the
cheese
taste of the
sauce.
shrimp. I just use regular cocktail sauce. But I also usually make a chili cheese dip.
Yum.
That we dip.
Chili cheese dip.
Yep. Yeah, that you dip tortillas or bits of bread in.
What's your opinion on eggnog?
I like
haven't
eggnog.
had eggnog in years.
I always rejected eggnog because I thought it was automatically alcoholic because
No.
the only times I've ever talked to
Yeah. The slimy bastards used to feed us kids eggnog because, I was raised by Eastern Europeans, and especially if you went through the Great Depression, being chubby meant you were healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they would fatten us up, basically.
Yeah, that's my father always had an obsession with making sure there was lots of food in the house to the point that, things would wind up spoiling because he was just buying stuff more than anybody could eat.
Yeah, I have to be careful about that because I hate to say it, but I started picking up some of the quirks that the family had, and I really have to work on it because sometimes I end up throwing out food because I bought too much and it went bad before I could eat it all. And,
Yeah, but same
Sounds
generational thing as you. That both of my parents grew up during the Depression.
So where does everybody stand on Brussels sprouts?
I
like them.
Oh, I
Love
love
them.
Brussels sprouts.
Love them.
I like them with butter,
am
like a
on
garlic herb
Yes,
butter.
disgusting.
Yes, definitely.
Big.
I can't get past the smell. Ugh.
I even
I
think
I
don't,
had
I don't
both.
notice them to have
Mini
that strong of a
cabbages.
smell.
They're basically just little mini cabbages. And
The
my
big
son
Brussels
actually
Brussels
will eat
sprouts are
them raw.
poison. Are you
He
kidding?
loves Brussels sprouts. He'll just nom on them raw.
Brussels sprouts are poison.
Oh.
Yep.
DK, what have you done?
Wow.
Okay, all
yeah.
right. Sweet potato casserole with or without marshmallows?
Without sweet potatoes.
Yeah,
Let's
I
just
like
do the
sweet
sweet
potatoes?
potato. Yeah.
Or,
No,
or just without the sweet potato casserole. From the
Yeah,
start.
I don't care for the sweet potatoes at
See,
all.
I
Yeah,
love
what
sweet
do you
potato
think?
casserole with the marshmallows on top, and then you got to put it under the broiler so they get all toasty and gooey like a
Yep.
s'more. And like with my sweet potato casserole, I will cook the sweet potatoes and like mash them up to get them really, really smooth. And then I will mix in like herbs and spices, basically similar stuff to if I'm
Cinnamon.
making an apple pie or a pumpkin pie. So like
Yep.
clove, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, a little bit of honey. And I will blend that in with the sweet potatoes, and it comes out so good, and it just tastes like wholesome holidayness. And then with the marshmallow on top, so good.
Like that would just
Katie?
be all I would eat.
You are making me hungry for that recipe, and I hate you for it.
Sweet potatoes are delicious if you cook them right. Like my mother will just eat plain sweet, like she doesn't like regular potatoes. She'll only like if we have baked potatoes, we have to make her baked sweet potato instead. However, I will have sweet potato fries and sweet potato casserole. Those are the only ways I will personally eat them because I can't do it just on its own. But it's all about in getting it nice and smooth and creamy, and also getting the right
Candied
spices to it.
Well, Kitty,
Candied
what
sweet
about
potatoes are
what about
where it's at
yams?
for me. Candied sweet potatoes is where it's at for me.
Yep.
And you'll have them with marshmallows, and you will just be able to watch me pack that stuff away. Like whenever I was at school and they had candied sweet potatoes, I always grabbed double helpings.
What is it with you
Kitty, what
Americans
about
putting
yams?
marshmallows on everything?
Well,
Because
sweet,
marshmallow
look
is
at me.
brilliant.
sweet potatoes were again one of the things that I would cook for my fiance, but I couldn't eat them myself.
I'll
Is it
eat
a
them,
texture
Hey,
but they're not my
Give me the
favorites.
portion you won't eat. If you won't eat it, give me your portion because I will happily eat it in front of you.
Hey, I tell you what. I think everybody can agree on this. No matter what kind of dinner you have, unless the roast potatoes are just right, the whole meal is bollocks. So, what's your favorite roast potato?
I like potato in every single form. Can't go wrong.
So
Potato
for me,
chips. Potato
Like-
chips.
No. What's your favorite roast potato? Not just name different kinds of potato recipes. What's your favorite roast potato?
Okay,
What's
No.
the roast
Nice
potato?
pie.
Okay.
I would say either, just going with olive oil, rosemary, and garlic, keep it simple, but like rosemary and garlic go really well with roast potatoes, or make a potato gratin because cheese potatoes are just brilliant.
I like the
Mhm.
little new potatoes with the rosemary and the olive oil.
Hey, speaking of potatoes, there was one
Yes, dear.
time when I had mashed
Yeah.
potatoes and then I put salt and ketchup all over them.
Well, honestly,
You horrible person.
I insist on the new potatoes. I just can't bring myself to eat the used potatoes.
Yeah.
You'll notice there's somebody on the set now. Simon Grabowski in the chat was asking if he could warm his feet by the fire. So there you are, buddy. Have at her. Hope it's comfortable.
I could use.
He's
I wish I had a
tiny.
fireplace. Honestly, I woke up this morning and, considering there's a lot of non-American, non-imperial people on the panel, it was lower than 0 degrees Celsius when I woke up this morning in fucking Florida.
That's
Ouch.
the
Yeah.
amazing
That doesn't
thing,
happen.
yeah.
My birthday
Beautiful.
was 5 days ago. Okay. 5 days ago. And I have had pool parties on my birthday here in Florida. And it was 0
Wow.
degrees. It was below 0.
Yeah, I
Like
saw
when I woke up,
iguanas were falling out
like
of the trees.
it was literally like -1, -2 Celsius, like
That's crazy.
first thing this morning, and then it warmed up to like about like 3 or 4 degrees. That's about 40-ish, I think. So like it's been fucking freezing today, and it's gonna be freezing tomorrow, and then in 2 more days, it's gonna be back up to fucking 80 in Fahrenheit, which is
I'm
what,
dreaming
like
of a
25?
semi-icy Christmas.
Yeah,
It's
it
61
was.
in Phoenix
there was
right now.
frost. And at my parents' house, they don't have like a traditional foundation on their house. Like there's a crawl space underneath. Their pipes nearly froze last night.
Oh, speaking
Yeah.
of which, they actually had to vent the pipes all along every exposed pipe. They had them running, and there was water shooting out of them. They were doing it deliberately. At first, I thought they'd all burst. Stupid me. Mom actually called the sheriff, and
No, they did it
she
so
then
it would
said,
not burst.
yeah, they did it so it would not burst. But on the other hand, you also had these huge sheets of ice on the grass. Some of them were an inch thick, and I am not fucking joking.
Mm-hmm.
I literally was I skidded a little bit on the grass because there was actual frost on the grass outside of my front door this morning when I had to leave, because I had to leave early. Like originally I was planning on being home all day today, but my sister and I go every couple weeks to get our nails done together, and we were planning on going on Monday, but our nail techs weren't going to be able to be there, so it was either today or not until next weekend because my sister's work schedule. And I really needed to get them done because if I don't have the coating on my nails, they will bend and tear, and it's not pleasant. So I had to go this morning. And, you know, I have to drive an hour and a half to get to my sister's house and then another half an hour to get to where our nail techs are. So I had to leave very early this morning. And again, it was 30 degrees when I walked out the front door this morning in Fahrenheit. So that's a little under 0 Celsius.
Yeah, I think it's
so-
like -1 or something.
Yeah, it's like just barely, because I know that 0 Celsius is freezing. So that would be 32 degrees,
Right,
I believe,
right.
Fahrenheit. I'm not great with the conversions. Like I know a few like numbers that I can pick out. Like I know freezing, and I know, you know, like I know that like it's when it's in the mid 40s, it's about like 4 or 5 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
Is like mid 40s. And like I already like where Randolph Richardson lives is where I would want to live. Like if I had the money, the means to relocate my whole family, because with my autistic son, I would have to take the whole family. Because it would just be too traumatic to like just because he's used to seeing them a couple times a week, you know, it would just it would be devastating. So like if I won the lottery and like bought property in Canada and got everybody like visas and had the means, I would go live near Randolph, because I actually looked it up. Like they actually have like one of the most like temperate like winters where usually it doesn't get below like 4 degrees Celsius, which is very cold, but I can prepare for that. I can bundle up, you know, and I can just not go out and have things delivered, because like DoorDash and Amazon Prime are a thing. So like on the really cold days, I can stay my crippled ass home because I can't handle the cold, but the rest of the year it's you know nice. And like you get snow for like 2 weeks out of the year. Perfect. I could live with that. That's where I would want to live. Plus all the benefits that come with being a Canadian citizen, you know, like healthcare.
Yeah, there's a few of them. Trust me, I know.
And knowing that if my child ends up being trans or queer, that I don't have to worry about the state government trying to take him away from me.
Not a
because
chance.
they want to essentially violate human rights and parental rights because of their bigotry. So like these are things that keep me up at night of I wish I had the means. And if I could convince my family, because a lot of them are like rah rah Merca, fuck yeah, like, you know, it would be a hard fought battle, but I know I could win the battle if I had the means to basically just, you know, if I had like not unlimited money, but if I had like big dick lottery winnings, I could convince them because they would have to give up their firearms, but considering they're getting fucked over by the healthcare system, it might be an easier sell, or at the very least move them out of red ass Florida to like a more compromisey state where it's not solid red.
Well, we're running out of those here.
Well, I keep telling everybody, Minnesota is a pretty good place. Okay, the weather in the winter can be brutal, but COVID has proven you can go 6 months without ever leaving your house.
I can't.
I was thinking, honestly, like, as weird as it sounds, Colorado also gets pretty cold, but, depending on how I had the houses built, like, if I had, like, hot water running, have a system to run hot water through the floors so that, like, everything stays nice and toasty, like a warm, toasty cave, and had fireplaces and stuff, like it would be tolerable. And Colorado, I'm pretty sure I could convince them to move to just because they have like lax gun laws, but like I have some serious gun nuts in my family. So like the biggest issue to getting them to move to Canada would be having to give up their guns.
Yeah.
That might be like
and our gun rules are even getting tighter right now. So that would be even harder at the moment, right?
But Colorado, like, granted, I would probably have like a private tutor for my child and not want to send them to public school because of said lax gun laws. Because, not wanting to lose my child in a school shooting. But I think these things through and I try to plot them out and plan them out, and like see like if I had the financial means, like what would my possible escape routes be? Because I know like it's possible that eventually I will have to flee the state, at the very least the state, if not the country, because sure, their ire and target is on trans people right now, but any queers that are like the LGB alliance, like they're next on the chopping block with other queers like myself, and possibly, depending on how fascist and Hitlery we get, neurodivergent people, autistic child.
Me.
I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. So I'm pretty sure that counts. Also, I am an unabashed atheist. Like, if we go Christo-fascist like they want, then an atheist, I would need to flee. Like, I need to think of these things, and it keeps me up at night. Because I just want my family safe. And I don't feel like this country is getting safer for me and my family. I feel like it's getting less safe.
Yes,
I would agree with that.
I want very much to run away from the U.S., but nobody wants me. I mean, I'm high maintenance. I'm health problems all over the place.
I think you might be able to get, refugees, like if things really do start to get bad, and they are, like they're on that path now, you might be able to get refugee status in Canada. Like it would be something to talk to like the Canadians, like Dick, and see, because Dick Randolph, like I'm sure one of them would sponsor you and just be like, hey, this is a good person trying to flee. Like they might be able to help you get an in, like not to put them on the spot or anything. But as a trans woman, you are at the highest risk. Like you are at higher risk than I am because you guys are the ones on. Yeah, lesbian trans woman. So like doubly fucking.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again,
like more risk.
We may have to do some talking there, Dick, one of these days very soon.
Hey, by the way, Dick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, the telescope. Did you ever get that done?
We're pretty close. There was a few things in life that came up that just made sure that finances couldn't go to what I want. They had to go to what I had to put it to. But that is going to be coming around. That will come good soon here. I can't wait. I'm hoping.
Also
building a scope?
Well, we've got a telescope and we've got a bunch of kit for it and whatnot. And I'm about to upgrade the tube and the mount. And I'm sending the tube down to Tornado when I do the upgrade so he can just get a mount and hook it up.
Oh, my. Okay, yeah. We may have to sit around and talk. I was in on building an 8-inch reflector when I was in high school. I still remember some of this stuff. I think one of the astronomy club members still has the scope, or his mother might have it in her basement or something.
Now, of course, regarding the original topic of discussion, the
yes, dear.
Well, Christmas is past, right? Was that what it was? Tales of Christmas is Past?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
doing callback. Yep.
Yeah. One of my early Christmases of long, long ago was way back when I was a kid. And we were spending Christmas at my grandma's house back in Missouri. And the thing was, I had seen the whole Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer short, the television special, I think.
I love that.
And also heard the song multiple times, and I just said, you know what? I kind of want Rudolph to stay. I want Rudolph to stay the night at my house, so he has a friend.
There you go.
I had basically empathized with Rudolph, and he is my favorite reindeer out of all 9 of them. For me, it's Rudolph, and then everyone else.
Purple, was it you that said something to the effect of that the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer story was absolutely horrible because nobody wanted anything to do with Rudolph until he became specially useful?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was you.
My thing is, I empathized with the guy, and I liked him, and I always wanted to be his friend. So I asked for every year for a few years if Rudolph could stay the night at my house after everything was said and done. Because I thought he needed a friend. And when they were bullying Arrow, or not when they were not Arrow, when Arrow was bullying Rudolph in the 1998 animated special, I had this Rudolph plushie, and the first time I watched that movie and Arrow was calling Rudolph Ruddy the Red-Nosed Rejects, I chucked my Rudolph plushie at the television screen and yelled, "Bad!"
Oh, my.
All right, not to interrupt or anything,
Saturday.
but my little one wanted to come say hello.
Hello!
Hello!
Can you say Merry Christmas?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas, big guy.
Spirit, buddy.
I want to get the new Mario sets from my birthday.
You want? Well, I mean, you're gonna get sets tomorrow, Lego sets tomorrow for Christmas. I'm sure Santa's bringing you some.
And my birthday.
Wait, are you on the naughty list or the nice list?
Nice list.
Mostly the nice list, right?
I'm gonna be nice.
Yeah, you're gonna be nice. Okay. Well, you're gonna get Lego sets for Christmas tomorrow. You know, from Mommy and Daddy. I'm sure Santa will bring you some too. And you already got your present from Christmas Eve from Mommy and Daddy.
And I'll open the rest on Christmas.
Yes, you'll open the rest on Christmas. All right. You can go play.
On Sunday, there'll be a perfect Christmas.
Yes, Sunday's going to be a perfect Christmas. Hey, baby.
Sweet. Very sweet.
Yeah.
Love it.
It'll be
Here's
a
a
perfect
sweet-
Christmas, except for that it'll be frozen here in Florida.
Okay, so here's a sweet, wholesome story from earlier. I made my mom not only cry, but be mad at me. Like, not really mad, but basically, we went, and I met up with my sister for us to go to our nail appointment. And he was carrying in the present that was from him to his cousin, who's 4 years older. And as soon as he walked in the door, he ripped open the present that was meant for her. Now, she wasn't there, so it could be rewrapped. It was not a big deal. But when I went to talk to him about it and, you know, have the parenting moment, and I believe in a more gentle parenting approach of, like, treating them like an actual person and having a conversation. So I said, you know, like, that wasn't a nice thing to do. And, you know, what do you say? And then he was like, please. And I'm like, no, it was not your present to open. So what do you say? And then he's like, I will wrap it again. And I'm like, that is what you're going to do. But, you know, what do you say? I'm sorry. And he's like, I'm sorry. And then I turned it around and I was like, so, you know, that wasn't a nice thing to do. How would you feel if somebody else opened your presents? Would that make you sad? And he started to get choked up and emotional. He's like, yes. And my mom, like, started to get all upset because she's like, because I pressed the issue a little bit more past that, because for him, he needs to have either a physical or emotional connection to something where, you know, otherwise he doesn't, it doesn't register for him. He doesn't really learn. So I didn't press it too much further, but just like, okay, see, it would make you sad, and that's why it was not a nice thing to do. But my mom's like, stop it, you know, because like she didn't want to see him sad, and I don't either. But you know, sometimes it's hard. Like when he was younger, he used to fight me about wearing shoes outside. And my dad had, like, we have here in Florida these sand spurs that are very sharp. Like they will cut you. They're very hard and very sharp. And my dad had gotten some in his yard, and he was trying really hard to get rid of them, but it was a struggle. And Richard like had an absolute meltdown. Like he was so overwhelmed. He actually was getting physically ill because he wanted to play outside but didn't want to wear shoes. So finally I said, okay, we'll use this as a teaching moment. Go ahead. And I went and got the first aid kit because I knew exactly what was going to happen. But, you know, and it took less than 5 minutes before I hear the scream and he comes hobbling back up. And, you know, I got the tweezers, Band-Aid, kisses. Like after a few minutes, he didn't even feel it, but he learned a valuable lesson. And I'm not going to let him learn a lesson the hard way if it's going to do like grievous bodily injury or harm. Like obviously, like stepping on a sand spur, it hurts, but it's not going to do any permanent damage or anything. And he understood because like that gave him the cause and effect where it's like, no, this is why we wear shoes, to protect the soft, squishy bits of our feet when we're walking outside, because there are things we can step on that will really hurt. So I would much rather him learn that lesson with a sand spur than with, say, a rusty nail, you know, where they have to worry about like a tetanus shot or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't even get me started on rusty nails. I will have to inject a personal story because he at least learned that lesson with a sand spur, but it wasn't so much a lesson that I learned with the nail as some kid had convinced me that there were fireworks hidden all over a clubhouse, and we went to kick something down, and the next thing I knew, there was a nail in my foot. So I ended up hobbling all the way back to my mom's house to get me to the hospital to see if anything was wrong. Thankfully, after a while, I wasn't even really feeling it. We had managed to get the thing patched up, and it eventually healed over. I didn't need a tetanus shot because I was recent on it. But yeah, I got really pissed off at the kid who did that to me. So
I bet.
Yeah.
And then there was the time that same kid stole my freaking iPod.
Ooh, that's mean.
Oh, what?
Ooh, actually, I got to show you guys. Anybody here on the panel, do you watch James Somerton here on YouTube? He does. James Somerton. He is an excellent content creator. He does like long form video essays talking about a lot of queer things. Like queer media analysis. Like one of his video series was Monsters in the Closet and why queer people always find themselves attaching themselves to movie villains, especially monsters, like in older cinema, because we didn't really have representation elsewhere, and being the outcast outsider. Fantastic stuff. He also talks about like class issues as well. And one of like his little like catchphrases that's become a thing is, you know, you have your wealthy person with their emotional support poor. So it's basically they feel like more attached to like the world around them because they have an emotional support poor to make them feel better about, you know, being up here while everybody else is fighting for crumbs. And I got it for myself for my birthday. He actually has a merch store, and it is Certified Emotional Support Poor. And it says, you receive all the personal validation and freedom of expression that your oppressive, wealthy family just can't buy, but with the added financial security of being able to experience poverty values by proxy. I receive pay off my student loan. And I saw it and I had to have it. Like I got it and it came like just in time for my birthday too. So, you know, it's random plug, but like his content is amazing and definitely worth checking out.
I just bookmarked him.
He's fantastic. I love him. And he'll do like live streams, and I like to pop in on the live streams where it's just like, you know, like be gay and like, again, he talks about queer media, and like he'll also do analysis of older media that didn't expressly have queer characters in it, but queer coded characters, obviously. Like there are a lot of them. Like if you didn't know, Ursula from The Little Mermaid was coded as divine, the drag queen, from John Waters films. That was their inspiration. Or like Scar was queer coded. Obviously, like Ratcliffe from Pocahontas, queer. Like all of the villains in like Disney history were very queer coded, and a lot in like early Hollywood as well. You know, you had like the more like femme fatale types that they were coded more as like, you know, like a lesbian man-eater types. And fantastic. I love like long form like video essay content. Like I am always listening to those and I love it. But I just saw my mug here and I had to shut up because like I love the emotional support poor thing, and I thought that some of you here would appreciate the humor of that as well. So there's my piece on that.
Yay! The whole poverty or the whole pay off your support, the certified emotional support poor thing. It's basically saying people. I'm not going to say that line. I'm not going to finish that sentence. But recently, in the meantime, just before the hurricane that hit Florida, Hurricane Ian, I basically found myself saying, you know what? I don't know if I believe anymore. As far as the whole Jesus thing.
It's a good thing to question why you believe something.
Then I
just take it from there.
Yeah, then I looked at the Bible and I basically found myself saying, and I quote, I can't believe I put my trust in a book that was written by Bronze Age desert dwelling goat herders.
I mean, don't forget misogynistic and racist as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, they weren't necessarily as stupid as some people want to claim. I mean, they could write. So that means they were not scraping the bottom of the barrel there. But yeah, I mean, when we look at their beliefs from a vantage, 2,000 years removed or 5,000 years removed, it does seem silly, but you remember that different time and different place.
Yeah, I basically found myself saying, why did I even believe all of this?
So,
I mean, even as a kid, I had questions about it. Especially regarding the flood, it just didn't make any freaking sense.
Well, in response to your point, a lot of it is, even if it's not, like a Clockwork Orange level indoctrination, it is still you are being indoctrinated into religion by your parents. Because when your parents believe something, when you're a small child, your parents have the answers to everything. They are gods in children's eyes. I mean, at least good parents are. Bad parents, they'd be more like abusive but still indoctrinating. So you're given these these answers you're never supposed to question, and that sticks with you through your formative years. Like that's one of the reasons why. And another thing, like saying a different day and age, like these things tend to come in cycles. If you notice, like the QAnon is on a rise here in the US but also in other countries. Like there's apparently QAnon people in Germany and in Britain. And the fact of the matter is, if you actually look at what a lot of these people believe, it sounds remarkably similar to Revelations, where, a big, massive thing is going to come and the true believers, the good people are going to be lifted up and given like the power that they were supposed to have all along, and the evil will be cast out. It is remarkably similar to the stories of Revelations, which is kind of horrifying when you think about it. And it also makes sense in a way that if your mind is already primed with this religious thinking, that, you're already coded to like make those connections and, question things, but not in an actual like media literate way. And a lot of the people that tend to be QAnon like aren't necessarily college educated. And I mean, there are tons of people that aren't college educated, but are still able to apply critical thinking skills and use media literacy. But, and college is a privilege that not everybody can afford, especially these days in the United States. But, so I'm not trying to say that like, it's just like, that, but if you look at just the metrics, the people that have less education tend to be overrepresented in these QAnon populations.
Yes.
And again, it's because in college, not only are you exposed to other people, other points of view, you're going to be around other, different minority groups, things that you might not have in your regular hometown bubble, but also college very much focuses on teaching you not what to think, but how to think, how to critically analyze sources, and how, to engage with media in a way that is competent and looking for, gaps and flaws, and, you need multiple sources for something before you consider it valid.
Yeah, there's a reason that the far right-wing Christian churches here in the U.S. promulgate education is God's worst enemy. The more educated you are, the farther away from God you get, is what they maintain. And to a good point, it's correct.
Yeah, they're not wrong in a way, because again, when you are taught how to analyze something critically and how to look for and cite reputable sources when making an argument. Like, I never finished college. Like, I actually only went to college for, 2 semesters, but I still have found other ways to broaden my horizons and not stay locked in a tiny little echo chamber. Like, when I went to college, I didn't know any trans people. I mean, I didn't have anything negative to say about them. Like, I didn't even consider them really a thing, It just wasn't in my mind because I hadn't been exposed to them. Then I got online, especially in more atheist spaces where there tend to be a lot more trans people. I wonder why. Maybe because, religion is antithetical to them, at least, the Judeo-Christian religions of this country and the way that they are practiced here. Makes sense. But I have been able to learn quite a bit from, the horse's mouth, so to speak. Same thing with, there were times that I, kind of bought into the, you'll have not necessarily death panels, but, you'll have a rationing of care if we went to a single payer healthcare system. But then I actually had friends in countries with single payer where I could just get up, chat with them on the internet and be like, hey, do you guys have death panels? No? Okay, so they ration care by who needs it most. And so urgent stuff is taken care of immediately. And then the less urgent stuff, like say a knee replacement, that might take a little longer, but you don't have to pay anything. Okay, because people don't realize we ration care already in the United States.
That's how we do it, yeah.
It's rationed according to whether you can pay for it. Like, you have to pass the wallet biopsy first. And if you can't do that, then sorry about your luck. Guess you'll die then.
Yeah, I'm running into that problem where I need more and more visits to physicians, and the co-payments that come along with it. It's to the point where I can't afford this stuff anymore.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I think we need to get you moved in, near Purple, honestly. I know that it would be a huge undertaking, but I know we as a community could come together and do it. And if we relocate you to the same city as Purple, not only will you have person to person, somebody there, but also the amenities there are much better, and you would be better taken care of. I would love for you to go be near Purple, because where you are, you're so far away from everybody else that it's hard. We want to help, we want to do more, but I mean, it's like a 14-hour, 14-hour drive, for me to get to you. So, I mean, it would be even further for Purple, but at least she would be there, and, you would be able to have someone there in case of an emergency. You would not be alone, because that's another thing. The internet, doing what we're doing here, face to face on a computer, it's wonderful and fantastic. But it is no substitute for actually having a flesh and blood person in the same room with you, because we are social creatures.
Especially in a situation where there can be some care and share and whatnot to really help people get through.
Absolutely.
It's number one, extremely difficult for me to tear myself away from here. I mean, this is home.
I know.
And I'm one of these people who forms a very strong attachment to home. And then in the middle of Minnesota, it's cold.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
Now, of course,
Tornado, yeah.
yeah, the big thing that made me say, you know what, I don't think I believe in this anymore was actually surprisingly the means at which people get into heaven. And I rationalized it as, wait a minute, whoa, hold on. So if you're the most benevolent, good, honest person in the world, but you're an atheist, according to the Bible, you will be sent to hell.
Right.
And someone who is an absolute heel but says, oh, I repent, could get into heaven scot-free. It's like, wait a minute, whoa. So where you go effectively depends on what you believe. That's effectively the same as God saying, lick my boot or I will basically sentence you to the same sort of stuff that Kim Jong-un sentences his non-believers to, but infinitely worse. And it's like, if God is able but not willing to make it so that his creations never have to. Oh, by the way, this is my mom. Hi.
Hi, honey.
Hey, Mom.
Shills.
Hey, Mom.
But yeah, it came to the point where if God is able but not willing to make it so that no human ever goes to hell, regardless of whether or not they believe, then that makes God evil by definition. Because if he is able but not willing to completely erase hell from the equation, then he is willingly allowing creations to suffer an infinite torture, an infinite punishment for finite crime.
There is.
Hey, from what I understand, Sodom and Gomorrah were, not really all that bad in consideration of what we're told they did and to modern day life. So if the truth is he stepped up to wipe them out for being horrific, how come you haven't taken care of the orcs in Russia and whatnot? I mean, you're just a slacker at this point,
Sodom and Gomorrah was wiped out by a comet, not God.
That's what I'd figure, yeah.
They found proof of it, so they found the fragments on the ground. They've done tons of archaeology on it.
Yeah, they found vitrification for the impact heat and stuff, the whole bit. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the other point about that one is it wasn't about queerness. I forget exactly where it was in scripture where it said that their sin was lack of hospitality.
Exactly right.
Didn't it have to do with Lot's wife? Wasn't Lot's wife involved?
No. So
Not that I know of.
basically, how it went down is essentially the angels were sent to Sodom and Gomorrah to find, he basically had an argument. One of Moses,
that's right. I remember.
Abraham's sons had a conversation of, hey, if I can find 100 men, 10 men or one righteous man.
Well, that's God and God, yeah.
And so they go, and he was going to go find his cousin or whatever, Lot, and he sent the angels, and they went there, and he invited the angels in and basically broke bread with them, which under ancient hospitality rules, you have to protect your guests if you feed them, under your roof kind of thing. And so that's why he offered up his virgin daughters to the crowd that basically wanted, to assault the angels. And they ended up saying, nope, this place is too far gone. Lot and his family, you guys are good as long as you leave now, but don't look back. And Lot's wife disobeyed and looked back and was turned to a pillar of salt. And then Lot's daughters, thinking that the entire world had just been wiped out, tried to get their dad drunk to get him to impregnate them.
They didn't try. They succeeded.
Right. Yeah, they did.
What a normal story.
Yeah, basically the entirety of the whole thing was, if you don't believe, you go to hell regardless of whether or not you're an absolute angel on earth. And if you do believe, it basically said, and if it's like, wait, so God is willing to punish his creations for a thought crime? Then he is wholly evil. And
Minority
I cannot
Report,
believe
biblical style.
At that point, I said that basically I do not believe in a tyrant of a God tyrants are not worthy of worship.
Yeah, I remember a friend and I having a long discussion about that back in high school. This is like 50 years ago, and he was a decent person who could discuss these things without getting overly religiously crazy. But that really was a thing with me. I couldn't get past that. I could not understand that whole bit about simply believe. And then if you don't believe, you're fucked,
And it's
essentially
even
like an abusive father or an abusive spouse.
It's even worse because if God is omniscient and set up events in the future deliberately, then he made people go to hell and he made them not believe in him so he could send them to hell simply for shits and giggles, which makes it even worse. And I said, I cannot keep up with this. I cannot keep this up any longer. I do not believe in a God that is a tyrant. And since the God of the Bible is a tyrant, this guy is not worthy of worship. At this point, I am an atheist.
So here's a really fun catch-22.
Okay.
So the price of sin, according to most Christian denominations, is eternity in hell.
Mm-hmm.
So either Jesus is still in hell, or he didn't actually pay the price for sin.
It's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah.
All I know is the wages of sin are a hell of a lot more than I make.
Amen to that, sister.
So here's another fun thing, or not so fun, depending on how you view genocide. There's something in common with the only two direct genocides Yahweh takes place in the Bible. And that is angel screwing. Because, in with the flood, you've got the Nephilim.
Oh, yeah.
When the sons of God came into the daughters of man, no question, no comment as to whether or not the coming was consensual.
Mm-hmm.
And then later in Genesis, you have Sodom and Gomorrah who are trying to bang the angels.
Yeah, I never thought.
Not really the only genocide, because he was fine with, genociding neighboring tribes and dashing the baby, cutting the babies from the wombs of the mother.
Yeah, that's why I said directly perpetrated.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. You know what the real issue here is? The whole issue regarding God, the whole issue regarding sin in the first place is that it's the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The knowledge of good and evil. So you know how all those young earth creationists that say that death came into the world when Adam and Eve sinned? No, death was A, already in the world, and B, so was evil. Otherwise, there wouldn't be knowledge about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems kind of strange to me that this God would not want his creations to know what was good or evil. It's almost like he wanted to control what they did and thought.
I've actually had this conversation. Like, all right, when I'm out, walk with a cane. Like, I use mobility aid. And I have well-meaning Christians come up to me all the time to proselytize that, you'll be healed if you just believe in Jesus and stuff.
Yeah.
I had this guy, and he was in front of me at a grocery store, and he asked, what's wrong, when he saw me walk up behind with a cane. And I was like, I have a nerve condition. I left it at that because it's none of his business. And he was like, well, would you like me to pray for you? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm an atheist. If you want to, that's fine, but I don't think it's going to do anything. So,
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not going to do it if you don't want to, because I don't want to impress upon somebody else. I'm like, well, thank you for that. I spoke too soon because he followed me to my car in the parking lot.
Oh no.
And we ended up having this conversation, And like we actually got around to, evil and, like whence cometh evil, like what, Tornado was touching on. But like I made the point to him, of basically, oh, well, you realize that, Adam and Eve couldn't have actually truly known that it was wrong to disobey God before they had knowledge, from eating of the fruit. So they would not have known. Yes, baby, I'm talking. So give me a minute. They would not have known. And it was like basically God wanted them mentally deficient, just walking around worshiping them. And he was like, they weren't mentally deficient. Adam named all the animals. And I said, so can an autistic 2-year-old, but that doesn't mean they can enter a legally binding contract. Like these are not the same thing. Like having somebody mentally stunted, so that you can better control them. And like he kind of started gaping like a fish a little bit at this point, and like he was obviously getting like really uncomfortable with this line of thought, but I was perfectly pleasant about it. But I continued, and he was like, he kind of backed off a little bit after that and said goodbye.
The whole thing
I think personally, once you've read even one of the stories that God has ordered or committed a genocide, that should be the end of it right there. Why would you be following this guy?
Well, it should have been the end of it when Donald Trump impersonated that disabled person too. So, this is the way human minds work.
It basically boiled down to if this is the way God is, then I can't worship him anymore, because I do not worship malevolent tyrants. Malevolent tyrants are not worthy of worship. They are only worthy of derision and scorn.
Yeah, well, what put me off of the Bible was when I decided to read it as a teenager, and I just got into the laws of Leviticus, and it's like, this stuff is pretty messed up. Like, there was stuff in there that anyone who was like maimed or disabled was forbidden to enter the temple. And I'm like, aren't these the people who need God's help the most, but they're forbidden to go into his house?
Mm-hmm. The other cute thing about the Genesis story is that just eating from the fruit, just gaining the knowledge of good and evil, wasn't really why they got kicked out. It was because God was afraid that, they ate of that tree. What if they get a hold of the fruit of the tree of eternal life?
Yeah.
Then they will become like us, saith the Elohim. And so the God, or the company of heaven, were afraid that, hey, if we let this thing go on too long, humans will become like us, and we'll have trouble on our hands. So we got to kick them out.
And then God bestowed upon them a curse of eternal suffering because we chose knowledge over ignorance. And on top of that, the only way God thought it was possible to forgive us of the curse was not to say, hey, that's all gone. That's never going to happen again. In fact, I closed that off so no one can ever go there again. No, instead, he had to basically send him, because if you go with the interpretation that Jesus is God, he basically sent himself down to earth to be tortured and killed as a blood sacrifice to himself in order to appease himself.
Isn't that funny?
He himself bestowed upon humanity because we chose knowledge over ignorance. It's basically a child throwing their toys out of the pram.
Yeah, it's like, how do I get out of this Chinese box?
Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can find this meme. There's a meme that sums it up perfectly. Hold on.
Or
the one about knock, knock, let me in?
So the real question is, did we really choose knowledge because we didn't know? We just kind of... He was like, ooh, that looks tasty.
Yeah, we
Holy
just
shit,
kind of...
I know about good and evil now.
Yeah, we were led into it by the serpent. Who, by the way, the serpent was completely retconned to be Satan. It never mentioned anywhere in the book of Genesis that Satan even existed.
Oh, it was totally retconned. That association was made in Revelation.
Yeah.
And that's the fun thing when you talk about the serpent. I'm trying to remember if it was Arn Ra or somebody else who pointed up in that Genesis 1, 2, 3. The only character in that story that did not lie, that the only character that told the truth was the serpent.
Yeah, I've been pointing that out for a long
You
time.
have, okay.
Basically, God is a holy, malevolent tyrant, and I'm not using the HOLY spelling. I'm using the holy as in WHOLLY.
Completely, yes. No, that's it's pretty messed up. Well, of course, if I remember correctly, the Genesis 1, 2, 3 was not invented by the Hebrews. They took somebody else's story, didn't they?
Yeah, they didn't just take somebody else's story. They stole someone else's story.
That's the one I thought you were
multiple
talking
times.
about.
Yes.
Yeah, well, actually, if you read Genesis, it tells the story twice.
Yes.
And it's actually two different stories that they appropriated from two different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And the flood and the flood myth.
They edited them very badly.
So, I think I disagree on them stealing it because, as far as we know, the Israelites are a Canaanite, so that it's basically, vestigial remnants of a shared cultural mythology from before they split themselves off from the other Canaanites.
And then they basically took the entirety of the Epic of Gilgamesh, also edited that very badly.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of which, speaking of the flood of Gilgamesh, that's fun little scientific problem all on its own, because someone actually calculated the amount of water needed to flood the Earth past Mount Everest, and it turned out to be way massive. And I actually decided on a lark to calculate the energy released by condensation of all of that water if it were to exist in Earth's atmosphere and condense and precipitate as rain. Just the condensation energy alone would heat the entire Earth up to 1.47 million degrees Celsius.
Yeah, huh? It's not pretty.
Oceans would burn. I'm not even just talking burn as in they would, boil. I'm talking first, they would start to boil. Then they would dissociate into hydrogen and oxygen, whose auto-ignition temperature has already been exceeded by the time they dissociate, so they would ignite spontaneously, turning the oceans into a massive burning hellscape. The entirety of Earth would start glowing in the X-ray spectrum. Or at the very least, hard ultraviolet. And then there's also the whole thing about you're releasing 3.5 kilotons worth of energy on every square meter of Earth's surface. 3.5 kilotons.
That's a bit.
Yeah. It gets even worse, though, because if you have to account for a normal method of getting the water to Earth, as in a mass of water with more water inside of it than Europa, then you're talking enough energy to not only make the oceans dissociate into hydrogen and oxygen, but enough energy for that hydrogen to undergo fusion. So instead of the oceans being a hydrogen fire, they become a nuclear fire across the entire surface of the planet.
Well, but Tornado, that's great for flat Earth, because then we finally do have our local sun.
Yeah, there you are.
But
okay, yeah, let's not do that though. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's enough flat Earth. Move on.
Yeah, the flood is totally a peasant railgun.
The contemporary biblical literalists really blew it when they held on to the stories as presented in the book, because they're using the book as the basis for their perceived authority. So now, if anything in that book is wrong, there goes their authority. And, how are they going to affect their will over the masses?
Like, I often wonder, how do they get past, like, the Council of Nicaea and the fact that the Bible is not how it was originally written, that it was a bunch of collected works put together by a group of men in power?
They don't ever address that.
Because, like, it's once you do, like, it can no longer be the accurate and inerrant, unchanged word of God,
Well, tell that to Ken Ham.
It wasn't the.
It's so much.
Well,
It's so much easier to read
I
these
have a book.
stories as allegory. It's so much easier to do that.
Allegory, morality tales, like
it's just so much easier to say, okay, that's a nice story. I mean, it's a lot like it's a lot like any number of morality tales that have gotten told throughout the ages. Humans are incredibly inventive,
Steph, there is actually a key issue here, because once you say this is allegorical, you can never again say the Bible is 100% literal, ever.
Absolutely.
Right.
Of course.
And on top of that,
it's a story, it's like, hey, there are tons of stories, and they're all interesting stories to a certain degree, but are they, is every element in them literal? Do you really have to obey this morality tale? No, not really. You can take it in and take it for what it's worth. But if you read it as allegory, it's just, well, this is another story. Read another story. Tell me another one.
And I'm willing to bet at least.
It gets even worse, though, because the Bible itself was not even inerrant when it wasn't even put together by the Council of Nicaea, because they actually say that the measurements of an iron circle are 10 cubits across and 30 cubits around. If the ratio between a circle's circumference and its diameter is not 3.14159265, continuing on forever, if it is not pi, then the shape is not a fucking circle. And the measurements listed do not have that shape as a fucking circle. Therefore, the Bible is wrong.
Yeah. Let's not get ourselves too analytical to the point where everybody that's overly drinking, myself included, gets a little bit too lost now and then. Let's pull ourselves back a little.
I have Mountain Dew. Your argument is invalid.
One, that verse was probably written when people thought pi was exactly 3. Two.
Okay. I will guarantee you, no wheelwright at any time in history ever believed pi was exactly 3.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, but I'm not talking about wheelwrights. I'm talking about people who wrote the Bible, which would have been like scribes and such.
Yes, but they also also had wheels. How else would they get their stuff moving?
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyways,
my explanation for that is that the scribes were cheap sons of bitches, and they only wanted to pay 3 to 1 rather than 3.1415925, whatever to 1. They were shaving shekels, as it were.
But I'm willing to.
I could understand if they had the if it was listed as 3.1, if it was 31 cubits to 10 cubits, I could give them that, because that would be within a certain measurement. That would be within a certain degree of error. But when you're talking 30 cubits, that's a whole 1.4 cubits away.
Yeah.
At that point, your amount of error is too significant to be looked upon as a simple thing.
Well, I'm willing to bet at least a nickel that the people that wrote this stuff down did not, for the most part, even intend it to be taken as literal. I think they knew that they were writing stories.
Well, I mean, there are portions of the Bible that are probably better taken as like mythic history.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance,
the 10 plagues of Egypt.
Yeah, but
Well,
that's
no.
part
in
of the
which
problem with the Bible is that it was not one book. It's,
Yeah.
what is it?
Right.
68 books that were written by different people in different centuries. So you can't make any blanket statement that's going to be true of all 68 books.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love the fact that God basically paints himself as a humongous asshole because Pharaoh was willing to let everyone go. And God said that he would harden the Pharaoh's heart so that he could visit all 10 plagues upon him. God is a colossal douchebag. That is not blasphemy. It's not blasphemy if I'm telling the truth.
TV game show host or ad guy. Wait, there's more. I'm not
I just want to say, like, for any atheists out there watching this, like, this is vicariously the arguments they wish they could have with their like religious relatives and just like try to shake some sense into them a little bit, so they're getting like that little bit of like catharsis. I actually had a conversation like along this tack one Christmas Eve with my aunt who left Catholicism to become a born-again Christian. She's very conservative, very Republican, very Christian.
Sounds like my sister.
And like normally, like I'm fine to have conversations, but like I'm not gonna like be the one to go there because I'm not gonna be more of the black sheep than I already am. So basically, you know, we were having light small talk, and then she was like, you know, I would love for you to come to church with me sometime. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I'll go with you. Just, you know, let me know when. And she was like, she had to add something else. And she said, because God has so blessed my life. And I'm like, okay, I got to say something. And I was like, so why is it that your life deserves to be blessed? And she's like, oh, well, because I'm devout. And I was like, well, you know, what about like all of the suffering, like, you know, the kids in Africa that are dying of malaria, you know, that kind of thing. So we're going back and forth. And my mom, like, I could slightly hear her like starting to get angry in the other room, like, oh, Kitty's talking religion at Christmas. And my dad's like, not your sister started this. Like, hands up, let it play out. Like, so we keep going back and forth. And she's like, well, I think that all suffering brings us closer to God. And I was like, okay, what about cases of genetic diseases like Tay-Sachs, where the child will suffer their entire life and die by about age 6 before their brains are actually, you know, able to actually rationalize or understand the concept of their suffering bringing them closer to a God. She's like, oh, well, in a case like that, it would be, you know, to bring the parents closer to God. I'm like, oh, so your all-loving God would torture and kill an innocent child so the parents may or may not learn a lesson. Okay. And like, again, gaping like a fish. Like, there are certain times that they don't really have a response, because like canned responses or things that like, you know, they usually give, they don't have anything to say past a certain point because it's not defensible. Like their logic is not defensible.
It's the same thing as debating with flat earthers. They can address individual points one by one, but if you try to ask them how two separate points fit together, they can't do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she still hasn't actually told me what day she wants me to go with her to church. But no, we do have a good relationship. Like, I mean, it's one of those things, like, we can have these like sparring matches, but it's not done with animosity. Like, I know I'm not going to change her mind. She's not going to change mine. And she's very, I would say tolerant. I don't want to say accepting because that's too strong of a word. It's much more, she's tolerant of others, where it's like, she's like, you know, she's very libertarian too. So like that is a point in her favor, you know, in that it's, if you're not hurting anybody, you do you, that's fine, you know.
Ever since I wrote a coming out letter to my family about 30 years ago, that among other things, I included that, you know, I was having nothing to do with the Christian church anymore. Every time the subject of religion comes up, My mom is very fast to change the topic before I get to comment on anything.
Yes.
And you know, I found that the people, like, I know that my aunt is very solid in the foundation of her faith because she can have those conversations and present her views, and she doesn't shy away from them. Whereas my mother is also, you know, very devout, and like she like religion and politics, she like shrinks away. She does not want to talk about it. She doesn't want to hear any of these thoughts or arguments. And I tend to think it's more she's a little bit less solid and sure of her faith, that she's worried that like I might make a good point and then that would like tip her whole worldview upside down. So like the ones that are willing to argue it with you, those are the diehard true believers. The ones that want to change the subject, I think those are the ones where it's a little more shaky foundation there.
I just want to make I want to make a brief comment on a lot of folks who've come out of particularly fundamentalist Christian beliefs or deal with people who are working within those beliefs sometimes miss the opportunities that atheists or people or non-believers have to speak to people who are a little less literalist in their beliefs and a little more compassionate, and that, you know, some would call them cafeteria Catholics or cafeteria Christians, which, you know, maybe that is, you know, maybe that's true, but the plain fact of the matter is we are not a majority of people in the world, and it is incredibly important to me to bring, just let me get through this a little bit, to reach out to those people and make them aware that they need to become active, that they need to step up, they need to take their Christianity, the good dedicated to social justice part of their beliefs. They need to get out of the pews and act, because we can't handle this alone. We are not in a position that we are being demonized by people on the far right, in the traditionalist view, to the point where we people like myself are being excluded from, or on the verge of being excluded from society legally. You know, not having the opportunity to live a true and honest full life. So I was really gratified when a pastor, the woman I know who is a pastor at a Methodist congregation in South Portland, asked me to address her congregation on TDOR, which was you know, which happened, which with a horrible coincidence happened after an incredibly transphobic and homophobic event that cost people their lives that very day. And you know, she asked me this on Wednesday before, and I said, okay, I'll do this. And I wrote up this thing, and being the daughter, granddaughter, etc., and so forth, I won't go into my entire family history of Methodist preachers. I knew what my text would be. The text would be Matthew, I think it's Matthew 16, you are the light of the world. No one hides their light under a bushel, right? And it's like, you know, we are human. We are your family. We are your sisters. We are your brothers. We are your siblings. We are your children. We have lives, and we need, you know, you need to see us in that light, and not think just of our suffering, because I know we all suffer. That's the common currency of humanity. And we are part of that humanity. We all suffer, but you need to also think of our joy. You need to give us our space to have our joy as queer people, as trans people, because we live joyous lives. We have that opportunity, and the only thing that's standing between our joy in the world and an overwhelming degree of suffering is you sitting in that pew and not standing up for us.
Well, I'm gonna dip out and.
I was just gonna turn to you one
Yeah,
ring.
you got a job to do.
Yeah, give a quick hello to everybody and whatnot, and we'll give a huge shill out and get everybody over to yours for the next round.
So yeah, hi, I'm One Ring. I took up a double slot because I was considering running a D&D one shot, but I couldn't get a party together, so it's just going to be a hangout stream with some Cards Against Humanity.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yep.
I'll be there for sure. Can't wait.
We'll be around.
I'll definitely
Let
be
me
around.
get a cup of coffee
So-
and I'll wander over.
I'll see whoever, wanders on over in about 10 minutes.
Put the link in the chat though, so everybody can
please
go there.
I'm dropping it right now.
Okay.
Sorry, don't mean to be backseat driving, Dick. I know you
All
run
good.
your own show. I'm just
Yep. Yeah, no, I appreciate that because everybody knows I am one of the worst scatterbrains ever. And I literally hadn't dropped the link until you said it. So it worked out rather well.
I was actually in the process of pulling the link out myself, but I'm too slow on the keys.
Well,
did it
Purple,
twice.
you are always on top of things. Like you are best bitch when it
Yes.
comes to like getting this stuff taken care of. And I fucking adore you. I love your face. Even though I've never actually seen it.
I did do
I
one
thought
thing.
you
though.
had.
No, I have not actually seen your face because we haven't done the makeup tips off air thing yet. Like we haven't done our
actually-
makeup together yet.
And I've got some more questions for you about that because I was trying some of the stuff you mentioned.
Yeah, well, we'll have to get together soon.
So yeah, see ya in about 8 minutes, and remember, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Sounds good.
Love it.
I mean, I'm
All
willing to
right.
count Die Hard as a Christmas film as long as nobody tries to take Gremlins away from me as a Christmas film. So
I think that's fair.
also Krampus.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Fucking Krampus. Like any or Jack Frost, like any of the horror films around Christmas, that's my bag because horror is my favorite genre of film. So give me more of that, please.
I like it.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
So we've got like 7 minutes, and that gives everybody about 42.7 seconds to say goodbye to all the fellow babies and Merry Christmas.
Did you calculate that?
Well, I'm totally making it up off the tip of my nostrils,
It has
right?
to be 42. Life, the universe, and everything. That's the answer. So
thank you
know.
for getting it. Yes. Well, Kitty, we'll start with you then. You're hot in the mic. What do you got to say?
Well, I am glad to have this catharsis because, with my family
Good
tomorrow, I will not get that option. Because again, don't want to be that bitch. But it's fun getting a chance to hang out with everybody. And I wanted to run one of these streams this year, but just things didn't pan out. Things have been hectic for me. I'm still getting over a stomach bug. And Zofran is fucking magic. If you ever have a stomach bug and feel like you can't keep anything down, that shit is the closest I've come to believing in fucking deities in a long ass time because it's freaking brilliant. Like if anyone's ever needed it, I needed it the whole 2/3 of my pregnancy. So this stuff is amazing. And it's the only reason I'm able to semi-function right now with my stomach being completely trashed. But, trying to keep up the spirit and everything and try to be here to socialize with people because it's important. Not everybody has a family. I'm very fortunate that I have a family I can go visit and be with for the holidays. Not everybody has that. So just, trying to be part of this crazy fucked up family we've got here, in my small little way. I'm trying to, bring a little bit of light to others that might not have that in their personal lives. So I wish you a very happy Christmas, a happy belated Yule, and, be gay, do crime. Have fun, eat the rich.
Good shows. Good shows. Next will be Tornado in a Junkyard. Buddy.
Oh,
what do you got?
yay.
I hope you can get me that telescope soon because I am dying for it to get a big ass light bucket.
I will follow through, buddy. You get that tube as soon as I upgrade. Absolutely. I said it and I mean it. Let's check in with Lavender Lady Diana.
Oh, yay. Everybody, thank you for coming together and having me here. It's really great to talk to you folks as often and as much as I can. I want to wish everybody a happy Ag Fu and a merry moo, and have a wonderful time, however you're going to do it. And then I'll be hosting my slot of the show tomorrow, along with the lovely Bionic Dance and the lovely Mage Grey Wolf. We're doing our thing 11 a.m. Eastern. So please come on over and join us. I think I'll even open the show to everybody the way it's been happening here on these other snippets here. I'd love to have you all, and looking forward to talking to you later, because I am afraid of the future around here. So
we'll chat for sure.
We'll have to see what happens.
Okay,
and,
cool.
Okay, enjoy, everybody.
Let's fly ourselves across the waters to the land of the United Kingdom and check in with the man that literally wrote the book on fallacies, David Worley.
Always happy to have these conversations with people. Not that I had one today, but I'm always happy to help out if people are struggling to have these sorts of conversations with family or whatever it may be. Just drop me a DM. Discord.
Cool. Very cool. And somebody whose avatar is just so cool if you're of a certain age. Skitsgrasser, what do you think, buddy?
Hey, just thank you so much for having me on and letting me be a part of this. You guys are all awesome, panel and crowd. Just, everyone be kind to each other, love each other, and happy holidays.
Nice shouts. Stephanie, your turn, honey.
Yeah, be kind. Be kind. Remember, it's the light's coming back in the northern hemisphere. We're happy about that. At least I am. It's I don't know. It's that's more the reason for the season than anything else. But it is for me, and I'm just glad to be here and glad you guys are here for me. I'm a person of a certain age. My entire nuclear family has passed on to the great beyond, and so it's a little bit lonesome. But
sending a hug, a big ass hug.
Happy to be here, and really appreciate you all.
Cool. And myself, I'm going to say, it's Christmas. Do your best to be the best version of yourself in the way that you show others who they can be and how they can make a difference. Because if we all do that, play it on in the way of universal kindness and goodness to each other, imagine how amazing this planet could really be. Purple, this is your Christmas marathon. Honey, you get the last words to take us out.
Well, I just want to thank everybody who's, been part of this, especially, the people who've been hosting streams, but, everybody on the panels and just people in the side chats, throwing questions at the panels and that, there's no way anybody could have made this work on a small scale. This is, required dozens of people for this to really work.
Mm-hmm.
Great shout. Great shout. And remember, right now we're dropping the link. Look, Kitty, I really learned my lesson. I'm dropping that link. And let's say goodnight to everybody out there, and we'll see you over on One Rings channel. Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
Be well and be safe.
Good night.
Good words.
It's over. Go home.